Aye.
I'd like to call to order the Trotwood-Madison City School District Special Meeting, March 11th, 2022, to order. Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, the meeting has been called to order. Please join us in a pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll move.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and second. Are there any changes, additions, addendums to this agenda? Okay. Being none, Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes, the agenda has been adopted. Number 2, we have a review of high school field trips. We have item A, and item A is approval of out-of-state co-curricular travel request. And that request doesn't say, but it is for the Trotwood-Madison High School marching band out-of-state field trip. I need a motion.
I'll move. I'll second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
So I think the discussion, and I know we have our parents here, centered around for the board, the testing dates. And I think when it flowed through, we didn't have a chance to make sure that we're not sending students on a field trip during testing. So that was an issue. And the other issue, and I'm speaking just for Jeter Freeman right now, was whereas the funds, the form says fundraising, right? And we've gotten the same form from the choir, and they were fundraising. We had questions on it back in December, I think, maybe before Christmas break. But that trip identified everywhere they were going. It had specific times. We had a full itinerary. So the responsibility of this board is the safety of the students, of you all. When you leave this campus, safety is first. We have to know how you're going, who's going to be with you, that you're protected. So it's a safety thing, and we've not paid for trips before. So for this board, that was different. For me, that was different. So I want to put that out there. So those are my comments.
Okay, I would like to address, some of those concerns. So, when we started talking about what's a little bit different this year than what we've always done, as the first thing you said, or second, was that we've always had the students pay for the trips. And I think that was because prior to us receiving this ESSER money, we didn't really have a lot of option. So what has happened that's different this year, and may be different for the next couple of years, is that we do have ESSER dollars, and so we can, support students who may otherwise not be able to go. We do have some students who every year have been able to participate. But when we talk about equity, which we do talk about in our strategic plan and our strategic goals, almost on a daily basis, we're finally getting an opportunity to be equitable. So any child that wanted to go this year signed up to go. Usually they don't, because they know that they can't afford to pay the extra. So I believe that's why we have more kids this time, that's why it's costing more, and that's why everybody can't pay the extra money. So we can talk about what does that look like to be equitable, but anybody studying equity, and almost all of us are, understands that equity does not mean equal, does not mean everybody gets the same thing. It means everybody gets the same opportunity, even if we have to support it. So that's the difference. That's what we're asking for. You asked about safety. I know one of your concerns was, and you said, I don't know who's taking them. So I did ask Mr. Bean, who's taking them? It is a legitimate bus company. It's not his friend, beyond the fact that he's worked with them before. And he does have for me, I have it with me, Buckeye, they said it would be $10,400 with no, like if they get there and the band's running late and they need to go to McDonald's, they don't do that kind of thing. The person he works with cut them a break, $10,000, and they can make those kind of adjustments as needed. That was why he picked one over the other. It wasn't because it was his friend. It was because the price was better. He's worked with them through other school districts, and they were willing to meet the price of the other company. And he does have, you have 4 chaperones going.
One of the things, and I sit on CTC's school board, and it's not a comparison, it's a best practice. And I think it's one that we, the board, we do policy, should look at. For the trips, they are identified, and if it's a staff member going, and especially if it's going, if that person is going during a school day, they are identified on the form with the number of students that are going. And that again, if we had staff that were traveling with the students on a school day, if we were approving, you know, the students to travel on a testing day, then we would also be responsible for that staff. So I think that's something we should look at, you know, in the future.
Yes, that is something we can consider in the future, but it's not part of
Right.
what you were
It's
supposed to get
Right.
this
It
time.
wasn't part of
Right.
the form.
And
form-
sometimes the reason why we take teachers on these trips is because they know the students.
And
And I'm
I'm
only
not-
saying that because we
yeah.
got 2 new people who may not know it.
Yeah.
And they
That all
probably
makes
do know it
sense.
because they've been on trips.
Right. And I'm not saying not to take teachers, I'm
Right.
saying for us to know.
Right,
where
why,
our
the
staff-
rationale for
right.
knowing.
If something was to happen, you know, we know we had staff and students on the
Right.
bus.
I don't know, you mentioned also testing.
Mhm.
I know you share with the board that there's an opportunity for some makeup days.
I also shared with the board the actual days. Those came out, and I did send that in an email to you all. There's a test on March 22nd, that's before the trip, and then the other tests are in April. So those are the high school end of course exam test dates.
Okay.
So they are not within that window of time. If they were, there are makeup opportunities for our students.
So what are the specific state testing dates?
So March 22nd, I can find that for you. I sent that to you guys in an email. So I'll look it up.
But you said that the state test is not, doesn't interfere.
Right, the end of course
Not
exams,
interfere.
those 4 academic cores do not interfere. I think it's ELA is the 22nd, and then the other 3, and I apologize, I don't have the exact dates, but they are not the dates of this trip, and they're not the dates of the band.
Okay.
one of the things, I've been on the board for quite a while, and we've never had, you know, and I'm glad you cleared up the state testing, because that was a huge, big issue for me personally. Not having students out during that very critical time. In addition to that, I ask about funding because, you know, the request is the trip itself. All boosters, supplementals, organizations have always funded and done fundraising for their trips. I've been here for 16 years. We didn't have ESSER funds before.
And we
ESSER
didn't?
Okay, wait, I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Okay, go on,
thank you.
continue.
All right.
Continue.
And we have them now. It is not sustainable, meaning that we have them now, we won't have them later. In addition to that, precedents in this district. Outside organizations or booster groups, I should say, is there an audit or a reporting that goes through the district, Miss Allen?
No, it's not required.
Okay.
It's not required. If we have an outside booster group, it's not required, but I have in the past worked with the booster groups just to make sure that if they had a question on their finance, the financial forms, I could help them with that.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead, I'm sorry, Ms. Freeman.
So our policy is that if it is fundraising within the district, though, that the treasurer, those funds do have to come
Yes,
through.
exactly. But
Because
when
we
you
do
talk,
approve all the student
Yeah.
accounts.
yes, so those are student accounts, internal accounts, but anything outside that doesn't run through the district, we don't account for those dollars.
So when you say doesn't run through the district,
It's like the band boosters or any booster groups.
Fundraising.
Their
I mean, those are
fundraising
fundraising.
dollars do not run through the district's monies. Their money does not run through ours. But for our co-curriculars fund, 200s and 300s, that money does go through our district.
it's reported.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, I asked a question at the last meeting, is this trip funded? I mean, I know that there's been a lot of fundraising going on because it is not standard or customary for federal funds, dollars, district to pay for field trips. So I ask, is it funded? And I've not gotten anything to say that it isn't funded. So my question specifically is was there a need, and has there been an ask? Because nobody has asked this board for any dollars toward this field trip, none. And what we do is, if we do something for one organization, superintendent just talked about equity, you know, across the board, equality, we do it for all. So, and it's not just a one-time deal. I mean, if we're going to do this as a board, then we need to understand that there are other groups and that still have the same opportunity until all the dollars run out. I mean,
Right.
that's what it sounds like to me, okay?
Okay, and I would not argue that. I believe as long as we have this ESSER money, we should use it to the benefit of our students, which is what that money is for. And the idea, I agree with you, it's not going to be here, but my vision of what can happen is if we let our students go, even those who can't afford to pay that extra money, they get to go on this trip. They may be so excited and encouraged that they talk about it, the band grows, and then 2 years from now, when it's time, we have that excitement, we have that big enough band that we can fundraise. I'll tell you, COVID has mattered. I did a fundraising thing. A couple of you guys know because some people supported me on that. And it was to sell popcorn, double good. Some of you guys probably had to do some of that. And what ended up happening, we had people who were able to sell, I sold $2,000 worth, and I tell you why, because I got a big phone, I ain't asked people for money in a long time, and I just asked my friends, and they did it, right? They were able to. Other people in my group, same people, we're all in the same organization, some of them, it was as low as $250 and as high as $2,000. But we're not saying that everybody's not going to get the same benefit. Pulled all our money together, We made $9,000 for scholarships for our kids to go to HBCUs. So it could have went different, but that's what happened. That's what happened here. Kids went out, they did the best they could, they tried to fundraise. Maybe they didn't want to go door to door, it's COVID. Maybe their friends don't have, the opportunity right now to support them on things. Maybe we could do better about asking companies and people like that. But that's a process as well, because I'm in groups too. You go someplace and ask them to donate turkeys. They have to go to national, I'm talking particularly about Meyer. I wanted turkeys for Thanksgiving, I asked like a month out, takes almost 6 months to get turkeys for Thanksgiving. This is not an easy thing, and during COVID, it's probably even more difficult, and that's why the price went up. I think I mentioned that on the singer's trip. Not much, but every little bit matters. It went up because of the costs associated with COVID. I mean, we'd be better off right now if we had our coaches already, when I say coaches, the buses, already paid, because we all know the price of gas is on the way up. So I'm just saying, I hear what you're saying. We have to get some new things in place that we don't have in place, but you didn't have them in place before. So we need to do that, and we need to be prepared in a couple of years when we don't have this money. But that is the purpose of this money, is to make things better in all areas. We have operations, we have curriculum, and we have opportunities for our kids. And equity does not mean equal. They're not the same thing. They really are not.
Can I just say
Yes.
something? Can you hear me? Okay. I am new on the board. I'm new. So charge it to my head and not my heart about a couple things. But this mission statement for Trotwood and this field trip and field trips in the future go hand in hand, at least it should. From my understanding, there has been fundraising, and I agree with you. There's kids that raise $5,000, $2,000 to $100. Are we going to let our kids suffer behind that, and we have the funding for it? I know it's a one-time thing, and I know what the board members, the seasoned board members are saying. I'm saying Denise, I'm sorry, because she's the one mentioned that if we do it one time, we have to do it again. I don't necessarily agree with that, but even if so, there's some hiccups. There's a process, and we probably have to go and, teacher development day or something like that, revisit this process. But at this particular time, what is the hiccup? What is the barrier? What is it that we need to do to support our children, this district? Because I'm on the board for Student First, so what is it that we need to do so that our children can go? So if you didn't have a PO, that's an easy fix. We can get a PO. You already got a bus. I mean, excuse me, I just want to know, Denise and Miss Jeter Freeman, are you listening? I want to know, because what are we doing? If we needed a bus, we got a bus. We got parents that's going, we got parents. We got students that want to go. We have the support. These kids need our support. So what is it that we need to do to make this happen? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, Ms. Cherry, I think it's
Yes.
already happening, okay? That's number one. It's not the board making it happen. It's the band director.
It's everyone, I know.
Yeah, so it's not, I don't want to put the onus on this board, because it is not. We are a collective body. It is working with the band director, it is working with the principal who signs off on the request, it is working with the curriculum director, it is working with the superintendent, and then it comes to the board. That's how that works, okay? So it's not a barrier or a hindrance here. It is not. It is, may I finish?
I ain't saying nothing, go
Okay?
ahead.
What we do as the governance body, things come to this board. And when things come to this board, they have to be in proper order. We have to know exactly what we are voting for. And it is our job and our charge to ask questions about what that is, no matter what comes before the board. We've done this. This is how boards operate. What's important for me to understand is what am I exactly voting for? Because last time, we were under the impression that this fell within the testing week. We were under that impression. Superintendent comes back with information for this board. That's what boards do. That's how we operate. In addition to that, we asked a question about funding. Whenever we cast a vote, we have to know what we're voting for. I've heard that we can use ESSER dollars. Ms. Cherry, how much money did you, do you know that we are actually voting for those ESSER dollars? I mean, do you have a dollar amount?
When you called me, you said 25,000, but you said you just threw up a number.
I was being arbitrary, but that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. We have to know what that dollar amount is, or we're voting blind. And even now, the superintendent has just shared, okay, that, there is an opportunity, there's busing. What is that figure? Because, and that's what I'm asking. How much are they short? What is the ask for the board? Parents, students, we've not gotten an ask. We have not gotten an ask. And when I say we have not gotten an ask, we don't know a dollar amount. Nobody has shared that with us. And those are the things that we answer for in the community. And also, we want to be able to speak intelligently about it. Yes, our band had these opportunities. We had these ESSER dollars. The band raised $15,000. I don't know how much the band raised. That information has not come to me. Or I don't know if has anybody else gotten it? I'm sorry.
I was wanting to know, with the brother that submitted this information, would he know the financial amount that you guys have raised? If I could ask him?
Let me, Mr. Davis, we'll direct everything to.
Oh, well, I'm so
superintendent.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm learning.
Yeah, I just want to be.
Well, maybe she could tell us,
Yeah,
that way
I
we
just want
could,
to be conscientious.
because I would love to know the number
Yeah,
amount.
I mean, and that's what we do. We just ask questions, guys. That's our jobs. Like we expect you to do your job as the staff, we have a job to do too, because we have to answer to community. And none of us are against expanding opportunities for our children. None of us. I mean, our band director came to the board when you first got here, if you remember, and we asked you, what is it that you need for your band? And do you remember what you shared, what he shared? He shared, you know what, we need uniforms. And you know what this board said? What kind of uniforms? How many? Let's give them uniforms. This board has never held back when it came to supporting students. Robotics came forth. They said, we need robots. What did the district say? What did the board say, Superintendent?
Said we would get them another robot.
Get them another robot. So I want to clear the air, because this isn't about the board not supporting students and not supporting opportunities. This is about a board that is practicing good stewardship, number one, making sure that we are in line and compliant, and making sure that no matter what decision is made, that we can speak about that and we understand exactly what we're voting for. I don't think there's anything unfair about that. And as a matter of fact, if we didn't do that, we would be negligent.
So
Yeah,
do
somebody
we have
would
the
come,
numbers?
I mean, if someone could come and say, well, how much ESSER dollars did you give the band or any other group? And what do we say as a board? I don't know. We just passed a vote and we don't know? That doesn't settle well with me. I'm good as long as I have the information. So all we're doing right now, and I'm glad all of you are here, because you can see that what we do is we ask questions, and we ask questions in the best interest of not only our students, but this district. So again, every year, we are asked to sign an audit release if there's any funds that went out unbeknownst to us or maybe have been covert. There's an audit. We sign our names to that. So asking for information is what effective board members do. And so what we are actually doing is doing just that. So you get to see that process and how that works. And the superintendent has been very gracious to answer questions. That is her role in this venue, to answer the questions. And that's all we ask. So given that, Madam Superintendent, how much?
Okay. The band has raised $4,390, and the total cost for the trip is $20,905.30. And I'd ask Madam Secretary, Treasurer, Secretary of the Board, if she could do that math for us, but I can sort of guesstimate it. They've raised approximately $4,500, and they're asking for $21,000. And again, remember, we have millions of dollars through ESSER funds, and we are spending it on lots of things. Don't get me wrong, this is not the only thing. But I know if it were me and I were a parent and I was sitting out there and I heard these numbers, 20,000, it's like, oh my gosh, which means we still got to come up with about $15,000. But when you talk about $15 million versus $15,000, and that's not touching that general fund. That is not touching general fund, that's not touching anything. That is money that is ESSER money to be used to help our students grow and to learn. Learning loss, we're working with that. But I would beg for you to consider going on a trip will help with learning loss as well. They'll be learning so much, they'll be able to talk about things that they couldn't talk about before. They'll have some experiences. And I'm not saying that's every kid. Some of us, you're going to take your kids wherever you want them to go. But the majority of us won't be able to do that. So that's why we're here, that's why we're talking about it. So that's the band trip.
And I appreciate that information because that's the first time that we're hearing this. I want you to understand that. It's very difficult to make a decision when you don't have all the information. That's the very first time that this board is hearing what the ask is. So, again, and those things are important. Because again, when we look at how we spend federal dollars and what we support and how we support it, we need to make sure, again, that it's not just a one-time thing. How do we carry this out to other groups? Because, that's really what we are saying here tonight, okay? We're not going to exclude one group from another group. Why would we do that? However, what is the precedent that we are setting? Because even with the field trips, and I'm going to just tell you this, in ESSER dollars, maybe it wasn't clear to us as a board along the lines of that line item. And I say that because, when we've talked about supporting students with ESSER dollars, those are COVID funds, lost opportunities during that time, we're looking at how do we expand their opportunities for academic ventures, not booster groups, not supplementals, nothing like that. We're talking about, we took students to OSBA, Ohio School Board Association. That was a cost. We bused them, we did everything that we needed to, or if they went to a national event, or if there was something that, I don't know, we've done some things in the past, Ms. Freeman, if you recall, with academic, teacher-based, school-based activities, not separate individual groups. This is the first for us. So I need you to understand that. This is the first. We've never had an organization plan a trip, a booster group, and not have the funds to fund the trip, and not give us the ask. Nobody asked us. We've never had that.
So now that we know the ask,
One second. I'm sorry.
moving
Ms.
forward?
Sherry, 1 second.
Yes.
Like,
Was
may I
somebody
finish?
talking?
Yes, I am, may I finish? Thank you. Yeah, so I just think it's just really important that we educate everybody as we go along. And that's what's important. We are an institution of education, and we go from there. And we don't do any straw polling. That means we don't, sit and say, I'm for it, I'm not for it, I'm this, I'm that. We don't do that because that's illegal for a Board of Education. What we do is we discuss it like we are discussing now. We get information like we're getting now. I ask, are there any other questions or comments for the superintendent? If there are none, I asked Ms. Allen if she would please call the roll. We don't sit and straw poll each other. We don't sit and contemplate what somebody is thinking and what they're not thinking. We just get the information and then we make an informed decision based on that.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Ms. Cherry?
No, it's me.
Oh, Mr.
I just have a comment. It's actually towards the actual board, the children, the president, the vice chair. And maybe this is something that's throwing me off a little bit, because I've been thinking about y'all for about a week now about this. I got about 4 a.m. this morning thinking about this. Then I also seen something crazy. If for the children in here, what y'all witnessing is something that's being taken away from a country right now. It's called democracy. Y'all didn't like something, so y'all came in here to talk to us about it. Y'all fought for what y'all believe in. Y'all stood up for what y'all wanted to stand up for. Y'all rep for y'all city. Y'all put on for y'all city. Y'all represented y'all district just now. I respect that so much. I might be new at this, but I come from where y'all come from too. So I'm gonna talk to y'all like this. It might not sound very statesman or political, but I'm just proud of what I'm seeing here. I seen all these people. You got all different races in here right now, and y'all stood up and y'all came to this board to talk to us, and we hear y'all. And we had an emergency meeting right now. I came in here in a jogging outfit. I couldn't even get cleaned up for y'all. Did they smell good? None of that. I like to look good for y'all. But y'all called, so we all came. But I think the leadership that I'm seeing right now from Madam Treasurer, from Madam Superintendent, from the Madam President of the board, from the Madam Vice Chair of the board, from Officer and Mr. Central State attire. Then we have Officer Cherry, who been pulling for y'all. I'm talking about her heart bleeding for y'all right now. I gotta separate my emotions from this because I gotta be in a leadership position. My child is with y'all. I got 2 children that's going to school with y'all. So my heart is in this. But I'm separating my leadership to let y'all know I hear y'all. I care about what y'all care about, and I love this city too, and I love y'all. And my biggest thing for doing this is because I want these young children here to see what we doing, because this is my future. They gonna come take my job in a minute. It look like they right next to me. They just one step from this. So my question to y'all is, did y'all understand the how, the when, the why, and the safety? Y'all have 4 guardians on this trip. We addressed emergency testing. We also addressed the funding at this point, and now we know the dollar amounts. Did y'all guys understand clearly what y'all witnessed and what you're a part of in this democracy that we live in that's being taken away from another country right now? That's all I cared about. I'm sorry, madam and sirs. I would like to defer this back to you guys.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Andrews?
Yes, I have several things. The first one is that whatever decision is being made and however the vote's being taken in terms of where I sit, I'm doing this with a good faith understanding that the band did everything they could to raise as much money as they could raise. And it's been mentioned up here, trying to be good stewards of this ESSER money, because it's going to run out. It's kind of a gift for 2 years. And so my concern, and I'm just saying just specifically, I do not want us to set a precedent today where everybody else feels like that they can come in. Now, me personally, I ain't got no problem telling anybody no. I don't have a problem with that. I don't want to have to do that, but I don't have a problem doing it. So we now know how much is needed, and we're getting ready to take a vote or make a decision on this. I think the initial problem was that we thought it was a conflict with the testing. And just speaking for me, as I saw it, if it was a problem with the testing, we got makeup dates. Y'all were still going. Because when I was in high school, I didn't have, just like some of these young people here may not have had, and somebody gave me the opportunity which catapulted me to be where I am. And like I tell people all the time, I started off as almost nothing, and now I'm almost something. And everybody should have that opportunity. But by the same token, I hope everybody understands and respects the process that we're going through here. And I know some people come in with this idea that's us against them, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And everybody thinks like that. I'm sick of you, whoever you are. Whoever you are. Anybody who has a problem with me saying that, so be it. We are all one village, and we all trying to pull together and make the best decisions and the best moves for everybody's benefit here. This money belongs to the school district, but we are stewards of that money to make sure it's not squandered and it's not wasted and it's not frittered away. Because it'd be just like somebody giving you $50,000, and instead of you doing some things to improve yourself, you go get a new car. But that money's gone, and you got nothing to show for it. And so I think that this is a worthy cause and things. I'm a little disappointed that we have this much of a balance to work from or work with. But by the same token, we are fortunate to be able to kind of work with that. And in the future, from this, a lesson should be learned, if there is one to be learned from this, and maybe, and I'm not trying to be condescending, and I'm not trying to be reprimanding or anything, but the fundraising needs to start a little earlier. Maybe start when y'all get back. So that, you know, because you see how it's going now, and it may give you an opportunity to expand your solicitation base and all that kind of thing, so that you can do it so that it can sustain itself. Okay? And that's all. That's what I need to say about it.
And I want to make sure, I was the one to say equity, and I probably used, you know, our biggest problem is communication. We don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to take the guard down and just ask the questions and just answer the questions. So, you know, sitting here, and I reference that again, we had 3 trips on the agenda. Okay, so you're a board member. You've been here. You've seen them come through. I'm only giving you my eyes. I want you to understand. And 2 of them submitted there same time you all did. But they had raised all the funds. So I'm like, why are you not talking to them and asking them, how did you do that? But then, you know, I also understood that in equity too, maybe more of those students would have attended, the ones that did raise the fund, if they had the money. So it's not about, it's really not so much about the money. We have that money, but understand too that the state, if you can go on and you can listen to the state board meetings, and for last month, they were talking about failing districts. And one of the things they said was, well, we did give them money, and one of the things it should be used for is tutoring. Not to say anything about this. I think this is an enrichment opportunity, and we definitely, I personally do want you to go. But we as a board, we've got to look at that pie chart to say, we got this much money, how much is going to operations, how much is going to tutoring to get us to where the state is looking for us to be. So these enrichment opportunities, when you go to the HBCUs and look at them, make sure you're looking to understand what you need to do to get there if you want to be there. And I know our band students in the past have gotten many scholarships, and I hope the report back is, you know, we got however many seniors, they all got a scholarship. So we have to have a goal in mind. But it's not us against you, because we definitely support you going. But the equity is for those parents or those students that already paid. How do we make it? This was me. I was concerned about if this parent paid and now I don't have to pay, how do we make that equitable? So I want you to understand where I was using that term from. And I assume that that's been worked out among the parents. But, yeah, so those are my comments.
Yeah, that's interesting that you should say that, because you're absolutely right. The day that this request came through, there were 2 other requests, so there's 3 field trip requests. The other organizations, they followed protocol, they did everything that they needed to do to make sure that their trip was solid. They earned their monies. They worked hard, I'm sure, to do that. JROTC, they're not even going until September. But their request was in today, fully funded. I understand the singers. I asked at the last board meeting, how's the trip being funded? I understood that it was fully funded.
It's not fully funded. They were
it's not?
fundraising.
I mean, when I say fully funded, they did fundraising and they raised enough dollars. Is that correct?
No.
So the choir didn't raise enough money?
No.
So where's the additional dollars coming for their trip?
It says on there that we would like to talk about, more than one. And so that's the one we're going to talk about after this one. We can talk about it now if you'd like, but I guess you'd take 2 separate votes.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Remember when I was talking about the fact that we have more students going, and that's the difference from years past and this year, is that when the singers have gone to New York, and they've went to New York for years now, and they didn't have to ask the district for money. My understanding is they did get the bus paid, which can be between $6,000 and $10,000.
Yeah,
So
that was an
understand
ask
that was-
from them, and we said
Right.
yes.
Okay.
It was an appropriate ask. It wasn't an
Okay.
ask, so what, we just gave it, we didn't vote for that?
Well, I wasn't here, so let me just pick up
Okay.
what I know. Let me
Okay.
just try to pick up with what I know. What I know is that the buses were covered before, but the difference was the majority of the students did not go on that trip. Those were kids who could not afford to go. So you guys never knew that this time it's 37 kids who want to go, who did help with fundraising. They were not able to raise enough. And so we would probably be taking 17 kids, 20 kids, if they knew they had to add money to the cost. So some people chose to go this year out of the hope that since we had ESSER money and since we had this opportunity, that they may get a chance to go. So that's what I'm talking about. Remember, this is Mr. Bean's first time. And so his situation is such that the kids, were excited, they signed up to go, and this is the first time that for the singers trip, any kid in the group that wanted to go and was able to go time-wise and all that, and their parents approved, signed up.
Is Mr. Bean in the building?
Miss Superintendent, help me understand, because I'm a little confused. Because it never came up that we were funding any other organizations. As a matter of fact, at our last board meeting, I asked about that. I said, there's other organizations on there. Is there an ask? And I was under the impression, and maybe it was my mistake, that these other groups were fully fundraised. And, I mean, that is what I heard. I don't know if someone said anything different, but here's the whole thing. What is that amount? Because, see, here's the thing. We don't know any of this. We're here at a board meeting, and just like you're just finding out, we're just finding out. So what is that amount that is coming off the ESSER dollar line for this other field trip that we knew nothing about along the lines of the district ESSER dollars being spent?
So the way that the singers run theirs is that everything is paid for It's all included. So it's really about the number of students who go, and they average $1,500 per student, and that comes up to approximately $52,600. They have fundraised, and I think the reason why we didn't have an exact number on that is they were still getting, like, they had coupon books out, they had some concession stand money. So, Ms. Bruno, can you tell us approximately where you are right now with your fundraising?
We have raised about 6,250.
6,250?
Towards the trip, and typically our trip, the parents make payments, and the trip being approved at the end of January, there wasn't an option to do the payments because that information, I'm just gonna say all of that, that's all I have to say.
So is your ask for 52,660 minus the 6,000?
In order for us to
500.
go and leave on April 7th, that is the amount that we need to pay.
Okay.
What is the amount again?
So it'll be about $46,000.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that information. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual per BOE Policy 0166 and ORC 121.22 G1.
So moved.
I second.
Been properly moved in second. Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Board will now enter into executive session. Action will be taken. 7:18 PM. We will now proceed.
Okay, well, I guess I'm making a motion to rescind the previous motion on the floor and to move it to a different position on the agenda.
I'll second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Ms. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
and Mrs. Jeter Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes to rescind the current motion that was on the floor for item A under number 2, Ohio school field trips. So, what I would like to do is, I'd like to add a motion for ESSER dollar curricular expenditures capped at this time for $25,000 for the band trip and for the singer trip, choir trip. Need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second that we have a cap on co-curriculars up to $25,000 worth of expenditures. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next item that has been moved to a different position on the agenda is the approval of the out-of-state co-curricular band travel request. Need a motion.
I'll move.
I second.
Been properly moved and second. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next, I need a motion to adjourn.
I move.
I second.
It's been properly moved and second. Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Mrs. Cherry,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Meeting adjourned.
They already voted on the trip last time. Remember?
Okay.